Don't have a secret on how to find funding. It would be nice if I could tell you, here it is, and go get it. So what we're going to, this is the content of the presentation. I'm going to point you to what's called Research and Funding Grants Guide, which was officially launched in mid-July. And I'm encouraging you to look at it when you have time. There's a lot of resources there to help you navigate different resources for finding funding and also navigate the process at the University of Michigan. I know there was a handout if you got it. It's called the Route Map, and I'm going to show you that online. It's interactive, and I suggest either when you have found your funding to look at how to proceed at the University of Michigan, the process you need to follow. And if you have time before you find your funding to sort of get familiar with it, it can be very helpful. We are going to search a database called, we usually call it Pivot, but it's COS Pivot, Community of Science. It's probably one of the best databases for finding funding. It's cross-disciplinary. If you're in agriculture, you should be able to find something. If you're doing research in wheat rust, plant mycology, you'll be able to find funding there. So it's not just for medical. And I'll show you some terms you need to be aware of when you search in Pivot, when you find a funding opportunity that you think is of interest. And definitely you need to set up an account, because when you do a search in Pivot with some parameters for the funding you're looking for, you can save that search strategy and you will get updates when something has been out there, a research opportunity that meets your parameters. And it also has the ability for tracking. If you have found one opportunity that's of very interest to you, it will set up an email where it says, now your budget is due, now this is due, now the submission date is coming around. So that is very helpful, and that's when you have an account. So we're going to start here. This is our guide. I'm going to just briefly go over what's the content of it. We worked very closely, my colleague actually up here in the front, Judy Smith, and I, and the Office of Research developed this. So we did it in response to a survey that the Office of Research did for faculty, and what was their biggest challenge in finding funding for their research, and that was finding everything in one place, not that there's different places on campus that they have to go to. So we tried to bring everything into this one guide. We're willing to add anything that people think that they're not finding here. So if you get familiar with it and you say, I know that there's this tool out there, it would be nice for you to put it up on the guide. So just let us know, and we are happy to do that. So here it is. You have a handout with the URL on it. And what I'm going to show you is that the left panel here, so on any page on the guide, the left navigation panel will be on every page. What we've designed is that there is a consultation form. So say you're on the guide, you're not finding what you're looking for, or you need to sit down in the consultation with someone to walk you through what database you should be looking for. You would just click on that, the form opens up, you fill out what you're looking for, and there are 8 of us who man this consultation form, and you would get a response saying that thank you for contacting us. We'll be willing to sit down and meet with you. So I encourage you, even if you are scrolling through the guide, but you feel like you really need someone to sit down with you, that form is on every page besides the home page. Besides that form, at the bottom is a sort of a quick one. You don't have time to fill out the whole consultation form. You can just put your email address and a few words of what you're looking for. You can just say, I need a consultation. And then someone will get back to you. Thank you. This is the time I have. What works for your schedule? Give me some options, and we'll sit down with you and give you what kind of help you need. Really opens up the conversation. So you can put anything you want in there. You can say, I need to speak with someone, and that's perfect. So what's nice about the guide is there's different ways of getting to the content. So the center has, and you'll see the consultation form is on many of these pages because we figure this is very important. We have made it so that it's easy for them to navigate, but we realize a lot of people get frustrated, so they would probably want to sit down and have a consultation. So here is the find funding. So when you click on this, you will see some options here: internal funding, external funding, some of the other resources here, searching funding databases, stay informed. So you can see clicking on that gives you some options, but you can also get to all of these options through the drop-down menu. So it's whatever you're comfortable with. However you want to use this, we want to make it as easy so you don't have to be clicking around if you like to use the drop-down menu. So let's do the internal funding and see what you get here. So we have these boxes up the top, which actually are the options that are below. So again, whatever you're comfortable with in navigating this. So we have limited submission. I'm going to define that term. Does anyone have an idea of what limited submission is? So this means that for your institution, only one application can be put forward to the agency. So if you find some funding, which we will look at when we search the COS pivot, if you find one that says limited submission, it's very helpful if you have an idea to first go to maybe your mentor and say, this is my idea, this is limited submission, do you think I should proceed with applying for this? Because I've only come in contact with one person in one of the departments I work with that has gotten a limited submission. So you need to have a very, very strong application, because besides competing with everybody here at the university, you're competing globally. So that's why if you find one and you think it's going to be a good opportunity, you really need to sit down with someone and discuss it, because you don't want to spend all that time when you don't have a chance. It's just too big a pool. So there's the limited submission. There's also faculty and staff awards, and you can see the list of them here. And you can see there's literature, science, and arts funding workshops, sources, LS&A. M-Cube is an option of getting, has anyone heard about the M-Cube, what that initiative is? So it's faculty that are looking, you match up with a faculty who's got a project and you want to collaborate with them. Then there's the graduate school. There's those options here. There's faculty awards. There's also student awards. There's specifically, if we click on that, we can see the faculty and graduate program funding, and there's students and fellowships award. So these are all the internal funding here. And then the external, if we click on, so you can see, you can click on different places and get to the page itself, the landing page for that opportunity. Here are the foundations, public charities, and nonprofit. Again, if you find this, it's always helpful to talk to a faculty, either the faculty who's your mentor, to get their input. There's a foundation center. We'll talk about that briefly in a while. So you can see all the different options under foundations, public charities. Commercial business, these are usually opportunities where you will be matched with a corporation outside who's willing to work with you. If you have a product you've developed, they will match you with a private venture that would be willing to market your, like you did a gene on a chip. They would be willing to market it for you. And then there's the state and federal National Science Foundation, National Institute of Health, NIH. So you can see these are the funding agencies. We'll talk about grants.gov in a little bit as soon as we finish navigating everything else here. And then here's search funding databases. We will be doing a search in COS Pivot, which is cross-disciplinary. It has both government, both private, both nonprofit. So it's really a good place to go to search for funding opportunities. There's SPIN, which is another database to search. My personal feeling is that I really like Pivot a little better. It's easier to navigate. And then there's grants.gov, which is the database for all federal funding. You will also find that in Pivot too. So it's whatever is easiest to navigate for you. And then the Stay Informed, where you can set up listservs, email groups, where you can get notifications. You will get notifications of limited submission that comes to the university. Usually it's sent out by your department to you saying, here's this limited submission opportunity that University of Michigan wants to put somebody forward for that. And here's the email list service for grants.gov, where you can get all the notifications for the R01s, the K grants, all of that. You can get email notifications, National Science Foundation. So we've really tried to bring in all kinds of different opportunities, not just government. And then again, there's that consultation form. We've tried to make it available in multiple places on this guide. This is very helpful. Grant writing, preparation. There's University of Michigan training here. Here's some training sessions that you can sign up for. There's some online proposal opportunities here, online preparation, medical school grant review analysis. Is anyone familiar with the term ORSP? I call it ORPS. So this is where any funding request that comes from the University of Michigan needs to go to ORSP first. Even if it's not government, even if it's a foundation or nonprofit, it has to go through the ORSP office first for them to look over what your proposal is, what resources you're using at the university. And of course, we all know that data or data, I've never decided which is appropriate, because we know now there's a big push on the data on how to archive your data. So we have some resources here. And we also have external workshops. Some of these workshops, for example, the Foundation Directory Online, these are for a fee. It would depend on what workshop you wanted to attend, but there are some online workshops that they provide. So here are some of the others, NIH regional seminars. If you can get down to, might apply for a funding opportunity for travel. You go down to NIH to take this on site. But a lot of these are webinars. So I would encourage you to look at them, see what options are there. And here are the database tutorials. We are going to, again, go to COS Pivot and do a search there. Foundation Directory Online. This is a resource you should be using. Once you find an opportunity and you see the foundation, you want to go in there and get a profile of them. It's very difficult to actually search there the same way you can search for Pivot, where you can put in, you're looking for something on climate change and agriculture. It doesn't really work as well as COS Pivot, but when you find a foundation, that's putting out an opportunity, you might want to go on their website and get some information. It gives you information on the director of that organization, which if you're going to write them a letter of inquiry, you can address it directly to them rather than just saying to whom it may concern. Because that way it goes right to the person who is actually going to look at your letter. So that's what I would use the Foundation Directory Online for. And here's all the tutorials for some of the databases that we have on the navigation, left-hand navigation panel. And then you have books of interest. We have the electronic books. You can just look at those. You don't have to check them out. See if what's here that you think is of interest. Again, here is table of contents, writing proposal. You just click on that and you get that chapter on writing proposal. Then there's also books that you can check out. Just use the Merlin catalog, and you can ask for it to be delivered to the Taubman Health Sciences Library, to the Hatcher Library, whatever library is convenient for you to have that book delivered there. If your faculty says it's okay to have it delivered to my office, that you would come by and pick it up. So that is also an option. And then this does not have a drop-down menu, but can be very helpful. So this is if you're looking for a collaborator, you found a funding opportunity, and you want to see if there's somebody on campus that might be able to sit down with you and talk to you about that proposal, especially if it's a limited submission, where you want to make sure you're going to spend 3 weeks on writing the proposal, doing the budget, all the other parts that have to do with the application, because you're actually going to be dumped into a very large pool here at the university, and then even a larger pool globally. So you really need to talk with someone and say, is it worth me spending my time on this? Michigan Experts. I don't know if anyone's familiar with this. This is a great interface where you can, when it opens up, it lists the faculty. So say you're doing something on stem cell research. You can just plug it in here and see who else on campus is doing that. That's part of their research, and possibly send them an email, say you'd like to sit down and talk with them. Basically, it's at this point, it's pretty comprehensive. LSNA will be here, I think, at the end of the fall. So there's faculty from public health, there's faculty from dentistry, there's medical campus faculty. So pretty much you're going to find, and as soon as the LSNA gets there, and it'll cover everybody. So you can search for a faculty that you're interested in. You can see what their research is, what they publish, what grants they have. So it's their whole sort of CV, but something that you can look at and see. So if you're not familiar with it, you can look at it. It's a great resource. So there's Michigan, the SAW, which is, you might hear that term. This shows you all, you can do a search in here and find all the awards that any faculty have that's on campus. So you were searching for a faculty member. For example, if I'm searching for the chair of human genetics, Sally Camper, I can search for her and I can see what kind of funding she has, what kind of funding, be it federal or March of Dimes or foundation. I would see all of that if I search for her in SAW. Then we have find an LSNA expert. So if you are at LSNA, you're not on the medical campus or dentistry, you can look here. You'll have a list, which you write in there. So you would just search for your faculty right there. So I encourage you to get familiar with this. But again, at any point you feel like you've navigated and you haven't found what you want, or you really need to sit down and talk to somebody, at every page, there's this consultation form. So we'd like you to use it. And somebody will get back to you within 2 days and set up a meeting with you. So any questions so far on navigating this? So we're going to go to COS Pivot. We're going to do a search. So I encourage you to sign up for an account, because then you can track a funding opportunity, and you can also save your search strategy. And as soon as some opportunity comes up, you'll get an email. Come in your email, you can click on it, take you into the pivot, and you can see all the information. It matches your search strategy. They also have most popular right here. They have the editor's pick, which you can look at. You can just click on any of these and it'll open up the list of opportunities here that the editor has picked. There's ones that are specifically for health sciences funding news. And then there is humanities and social sciences. So this is cross-disciplinary. So depending on what your interest is, if you're in the arts, performing arts, you'll be able to find something here on the pivot. So I'm going to log in. When you set up your account, you're going to use your email, and the email is the username. You might think, well, it's just like any other resource on campus. I just put my unique name and you won't get in. So you need to use your email address. The password can be whatever you like. Just remember, you're just always used to just putting in your unique name. So if I go to home, I'm going to see all my saved searches, anything that I've tracked, which I don't have here. So that is the advantage of setting up an account. Also, you will be able to get to that anywhere. So if I go to university, our either library page, and I look for COS Pivot, I want to get to my page where I've saved some searches, I can do that by signing in. Remember, if you're off campus, you're going to have to use your level 1 password to get in there. Right here, I can start doing what they call a quick search and just put in some terms I'm looking for. So I'm looking for, you can see that I've done it before. This is my own computer. The Boolean operators have to be capitalized. Many databases do that. So you would just need to capitalize it. And of course, I've done this search before. And then you just run your search. And if you want the phrase to appear together, you would put quotes around it. If I had just put stem cell without the quotes, it would have looked for everything that had the word stem in it and everything that had the word cell in it, which is going to give me several thousand because it's going to search in the database where it says stem. But I wanted to search for it as a phrase. So you can see I've gotten 39, which is pretty good. You go through it, look at whatever is of interest to you, click on it and pull it up. First, we're going to look at how we can, if we're just looking for a training scholarship. It's already pulled that out of the 39. So it already puts these limits on without you doing it. Postdoc award, there's 3 of the 39, 3 of them are related to postdoctoral fellowships, basic preclinical translation of stem cell studies. You can see that application is due. You have some time. So if this was of interest to you, you see that you have some time. It's not due till January 14th next year. Here's one that's actually due in a year. So you can look at that. Here's another full proposal anticipated. Now you can see that this is euros. So it just pulled up everything. So it's giving you sort of this broad search. You haven't said you just want US dollars. And here's state and province. There's professional societies, which could be helpful. Professional societies would probably give you some travel award to go to their meeting. Often it's better to just go to that society's webpage and find it. So if you were the Modern Language Society, they may have some funding for you to go to their annual conference. So I encourage you to go there if you specifically know of a society that you want to go to their conference. Saves you some time. And then here's your nonprofits. There's 9 that are nonprofit. So you can see that they've already sort of limited that 39 without you having to do anything. You also can look at some that have to do with animal models. So you're doing stem cell research you're using an animal model, a mouse, a frog. So right here, if I click on that, it's going to pull out the funding where you can get funding if you're using some type of animal model. Medical diagnosis. So I think this is a great interface, even by doing that broad search. I got some funding here, and there's 39. If we want to see the next page, we just go here. And here is a limited from California. So obviously just looking there probably has to do with you either have to be living in California, or they're only funding you if you're going to do your research in California. So you're getting everything. This looks great. So as you can see, it just sort of what I call shotgun. Just throwing out there and seeing where the cookie crumbles, but you also are able to limit it by clicking on these, and it pulls up just the nonprofit. Now, because I'm logged in and I got my results, I have the option of saving the search. Right here, I give it a name, so I can do stem cell. And I can save it. And it's going to, anytime that there is a funding opportunity that matches those search terms that I put in, I'm going to get a notification. So that's the advantage of being locked in and with your password. And then if I wanted to track something in a rate of clinical, I can track it. And I can call it, so when I go to my home page, I'm going to see all of those. I'm going to see the saved searches. I'm going to see the one that I want to specifically track. And that way it's going to set up a deadline. It's going to tell me your application is due in 6 months. So I can hop on there and see if I've started doing the budget. If I haven't, I need to start getting things ready to submit. And then we have the advanced search. So the advanced search is where you can actually put some limits on it. So I'm going to, remember, if I have a phrase, I want to put it in quotes so it doesn't, so it looks for it as a phrase. So I'm going to look for climate change. Easy, look. Climate change, and I'm going to limit it to climate change as it affects health. Like any other database, you're going to want to, sometimes you'll have to back up and go back again. You can see there's 246. I can go back and refine my search, put some limits here. You definitely would want to put, I find it's really helpful to put some amount. I've tried without, and it really skews your results. And I'm going to put in, and if you look at here, if you look at their, you put in, if I want $2,000, I put in 2000. And it doesn't matter, it's going to convert it to dollars, and it's going to do the currency conversion. What is $2,000? What does equate with the euros? It does that for you. So I'm going to leave more than, I'm going to just put in $1,000. If you want deadlines, I think you don't want to limit deadlines. You want to get everything so that you have a fighting chance. You don't want limited submission. That's going to come up anyway. You want to be able to submit it without having it first go to the university and then putting into the big pool of national pool. Activity location is one that you're probably going to want to put that down. And what you can do is you can look at more locations. So anywhere in the United States, I'm going to select that. And then I close it, and you can see it put that limit already. And I'm going to do unspecified. So again, play around with, does it work leaving unspecified unchecked, or does it work? And you can always go back and refine it. See which one of them sort of skewed your results. Citizenship. So it's up to you. If you're in Canada, you can put Canada, United Kingdom. I'm going to put United States. And you see how it automatically check that. You can uncheck them if you think your results will be better that way. Then there's funding type. So I want to be really broad. I find that being broad, searching this, is going to be more productive than being very, very specific. Because sometimes you kind of get nothing. So I want it for research. So I'm going to do research. And actually, that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to leave that. Those are my limits that I want to put on the search. Do not use any of these because this is going to really limit your search and you're probably going to get 0. So we suggest you don't even use exclude opportunities. So then we're going to hit our search. So we have 40 here. And you can see that it's still got the euros here. But then again, you have limited submission without a saying. You can look at that. Here's 40 of these are all research, which is great. You didn't have to worry about. There's 16 that come from the government. So if you want to click on that, these are all, this is from the EPA. So you can see this is cross-disciplinary, cross-organization. There's private, nonprofit. So as you can see, this is a really great database to search. Then you can go back to refine your search. So maybe at this point, I want to say just Michigan. Okay, let's see what happens if we go and we turn this down and we say Michigan. And then we run the search again. So 16. So it's going to depend. So if you're here, but you think that when you're done, you've got a position, a fellowship, postdoc fellowship, or somewhere else, you might want to look at what opportunities there are if you happen to go to New York. So you might want to take off the Michigan, but these are specifically funding that you're in Michigan. You want to do your research in Michigan. So here is agriculture. So if you're not health sciences, I know there were some questions that Audrey got. Is it only for medical? No, this database, cross-disciplinary, is the Agriculture and Food Initiative. And here is the limited submission. So let's just take a look at what a limited submission looks like. So we pull it up and it gives you the information. Again, remember, see, it's the Department of Commerce. You get all this information, climate and the CFDA number. And all this of the amount, use lower than, academic institution, application type, commercial, unrestricted. And what's really I like about this database, this has some keywords that appear in this application. So if you thought, Maybe I'd want to actually just use this keyword. So do climate change and weather prediction, or I could refine the search by using this term. And here's letter of intent. So a letter of intent, before you even start preparing the application, they want you to send them a letter. You send it to the foundation here, and you again would like to address it to the person, if there's a person listed here. Dear Ms. Brown, or Dear Diane Brown, I am interested in applying for this. This is my intent. Letters of intent, you should look at what type of letter they want. Do they just want a one-page letter? I'm at the University of Michigan. I'm interested in applying for this, blah, 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 blah. So they just want one page. Then there are some which you can write your whole proposal. You can put your budget in. You can put everything, which are great because basically you've done the application. And once they say, yes, we would like you to put that application forward, you've already got half the work done. So those that the letter of intent wants to see your budget, wants to see your specific games, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So those are great because you've already done half the work. So you want to look and see what the letter of intent, what they are interested in, just one page or include the budget and everything else. So you can see this information here. So we can always get back. This is again limited submission. So I always think you should get some advice on if it's worth your project would fall into the big University of Michigan pool and then the larger pool. So basically, this is how to search pivot. All right. So what I want to show you, has anyone navigated the University of Michigan proposal, research, anything like that? Okay, you really need to look at this because this is very, very helpful. So the first thing, there are, I think you have the handout, there's several pages. They first suggest if you have an administrator in your department. So if you click on here, you can see here's the biological chemistry people, clinical departments, other medical units. So it is medical. But if you know that you have an administrator over at LSNA who actually administers the grant proposals, it's a good thing to contact them. You can also go back to the route mat here. So there's all these steps here. So if you're using, if you're doing a clinical trial, and you can see this has the key. So even if you're off campus, you can't get into it. You have to be here on the campus. The computer has to have the IP address. You can't get that level 1 login or level 2. So you really have to be on campus to get to it. Okay. So anytime you see that, you definitely have to be on campus to use that resource. So it has the key. So you can see that there are different pages. And how do you get from this page to another page? So here's research and funding development. So you click on this and you get to that page. And then, of course, if we want to get back to the guide, we actually prominently are on 3 locations on this. And then there's proposal writing. So you would get to that letters of, so here's some letters, some templates for letters you can use, which is great. And then you have this other, so this is interactive, and you can get right to that resource. We can see here, there's also this, so here is industry and sponsored clinical trials. So any other questions? There are letters of intent, letters of proposal. Also, the foundation directory has some sample letters. They have some samples there, so just go to the foundation directory online. They have some really good letters of intent, long ones, short ones. Also, the medical school, if you're looking for, if it's funding for like NIH or NSF, they have templates for budgets, which can be very helpful, which is an Excel spreadsheet. So with NIH, it's just months, not per, that's your, and if you plug that in, it will actually equate it with for you. So it's the medical school grants office. So there might be other options for budget, but that specifically have a great Excel spreadsheet for the budget for NIH. You just do it and then paste it in the proposals. Everybody familiar with the steps, which you will find on the roadmap? What your first step is, besides contacting your administrative staff or your mentor, when you're going to move forward on your grant proposal, you have to go to eResearch and fill out a proposal, a form, a PAF form, proposal form. And that's no matter what, even if it's for a nonprofit. So everything goes through the Office of Research and Special Projects. Even if you are submitting it directly online to the foundation, they want to see what money you're asking for that's going to come into the University of Michigan. And then there's the IRB form that you fill out, and then there's the animal form. So all of that's in what's called eResearch. Then there is, if I can get back here to, so in Pivot, you can search, as soon as it gets up, you can search profiles. And this is everybody at the University of Michigan, okay? So I can search here. For that search I did, let's get back to the search, if we can get right back to it. So let's just do that quick search. And I'll show you how you would get to it in Pivot. Let's do. So say I'm interested in this one right here. So as soon as it pulls it up, there is a list of potential collaborators right here. And this is people at the University of Michigan. It's a little slow, and sometimes you'll see the person you're working with. It's taking a little time. So that's another way of getting to collaborators. These are people who would, for that opportunity, these are people you could contact. Here is the Department of Urology. This is molecular medicine and genetics. So for that particular funding, these are people that you could contact and get some ideas, want to pass it by them and get their input, especially with the limited submission one. Okay. So there's two ways. There's Michigan experts or the profiles in Pivot. So say that one that I clicked on, this is Professor Monica Liebert, who they say would be somebody I could contact to discuss that application. If you click on this, you get another profile. You get their information, their email. You can get their publications. Here's her research interest. So you'd send her an email and say, I notice you're doing research in an area that I'm very interested in. I have found an application. Can I discuss this with you? You always want to look for somebody who, here's this person whose her research interests include bladder cancer biomarkers. So if the funding application you're looking at would be something you'd like her to look at, it's always helpful. And if they can't help you, they'll tell you who can. Thank you. I encourage you, number one, to use Pivot. Put the search terms as broad as possible, and then you can narrow them down. Okay. And again, we have the consultation form. If you need to sit down with someone and go over your search strategy and see why this didn't work or that didn't work, just fill out that application or the short form, which would be your email. I would like to sit down with someone to have some help. Thank you. Thank you for getting up.